walking through this life of mine. Well, it's teaching me so many things, like how to love and how to lose and how to choose. Walking through this life.
Well, hello and welcome to another edition of Walking Through Life. Today I'm very excited because we got a very special show. We have got the Commissioner of Mental Health, Patrick Flood. Hi.
Hi, good afternoon.
And we've also got Greg Harrison from the White River Junction Community Mental Health, HRS, and CRT team. And we've also got an audience today. Yay! We've got a whole audience, so this ought to be fun. They're going to be asking some questions to get involved in the conversation with the Commissioner and Greg. So I think we're going to start it out today with talking to you, Patrick, about what we were speaking about earlier, about what's happening around the state of Vermont as far as mental health is going.
Well, Linda, it's going to take you about 4 shows to get through that in detail because there's so much going on. Yeah. But I'll try to summarize quickly that first of all, we had the state hospital closed because of the flood, so we are in a crisis every day trying to make sure we have services. You'd be surprised how that one building, losing that one building impacts the whole system. Mm-hmm. But as a result of that, the legislature also passed a very significant and comprehensive piece of legislation to move away from a reliance on the state hospital and move into basically a different mental health system with more community services, many more, and relying on local hospitals more than one central hospital. So we're going to have people that would have been at the state hospital can now, and they are today, getting services at the Brattleboro Retreat, they're getting services in Rutland, they're getting services at Fletcher Allen, and we're going to build a new 25-bed hospital in Berlin up near Montpelier. So that's the hospital piece. But very quickly, we're also building what we call step-down facilities where people can get out of the hospital sooner. Nice. And go start their recovery in a more community setting before they're ready maybe to go back to their apartment. And we're building a lot of community services, which Greg can talk about his experience locally, but all over the state, we're putting another $8 or $9 million worth of community services into the designated agencies, community mental health centers. And another piece that I really want to emphasize is we're also spending another $1 million on peer services. So that, and that's a variety. I can go into more detail if you want me to, but it includes a warm line, and it includes having an umbrella organization to help manage peer services because it's growing, and I think it should grow. I think it's a critical part of the system, and we have a great opportunity now. So there's peer aspects to the service system that are expanding, and there are some new ones that are being created. So I can tell you more about that if you want, but basically the system is changing tremendously, and there's going to be a lot. And one thing to stress is there's a lot more options for people. I'll give you another quick example. One of the new options is a facility that people can go to instead of a hospital, for especially around a first break psychosis, and try to get their care and services with either no medication or minimal medication.
Is that a silent listen? A listen?
No, it's not a listen. It's actually there's been models in other states, and it's called Soteria. Huh. Now, they haven't come up with a name, but we refer to it as Soteria here in Vermont. And that is actually being developed as we speak and could open as soon as next year. So that is a cutting-edge option.
So it's more like holistic care.
Absolutely. It's not a medical model.
Right.
It's a whole different approach to trying to help people less medication or no medication.
More tools.
I just use that as an example of the kinds of options that we're creating for people in this state now we've talked about for years, and now we're actually doing some of this. So I'd be happy to go into much more detail if you want me to.
Oh, we can definitely do that, and like I said, we've also got questions from the audience too. But I want to give Greg an opportunity to talk a little bit about HRS and CRT team here in Hartford and Springfield or wherever. What are some of the needs here that you can see that we need for the mental health, community mental health services here?
Well, being the manager of the Hartford team, 90% of my time is spent here and worrying about Hartford. And we are all very excited about the options and the direction the state's going in terms of, as Patrick stated, options for folks that otherwise would have ended up in the hospital. And, you know, HCRS certainly has, we have our alternatives program, and then we have residential, we have our two community care, or not community care, but therapeutic community residences, Woodstock and Beekman House. And then in conjunction with the Southern Alliance, we have Meadowview residents down in Brattleboro. And most exciting is Hilltop, which is similar to the model Patrick was referring to, sort of Whitaker-based approach to young people on their first break.
Yeah.
Minimal meds.
Is that through, that's through HRS? Is that through right around here?
It's in Westminster.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
It's a beautiful, beautiful building. You should go see it sometime.
Yeah.
I will. We
It's a
should. We
wonderful
should.
option.
We should have like a tour or something.
Yeah,
Go down and
go
check it
see
out.
it.
Absolutely. And that's another thing I was going to ask too about community mental health too. Is here in Hartford and HRS. So a CRT, the difference between CRT and regular HRS. CRT is.
COT is a state mandated program to serve individuals with chronic. Severe, persistent mental illness.
Which basically
Yep.
means ongoing.
Yes.
Needing ongoing.
It's a community support team
Right.
type of model, and because it's funded by a waiver, there are certain criteria. People have to be found eligible to be in the program.
Could I say a word about that? Because while the CRT program has been terrific in keeping people out of the hospital, in fact, the statistics I've seen lately are dramatic. There's all these other people who don't quite qualify for CRT,
yeah.
and heretofore we haven't had that much to offer them. So what I see people who are not CRT eligible, but other people who are not quite eligible are the ones going to the hospitals. And so one of the things we're doing with this new money, and all the agencies are doing it, is creating options outside of the CRT program for people who otherwise would get stuck. So they do they're providing what we call in bureaucracy non-categorical case management. In other words, we'll give you support in case management whether you're eligible for CRT or not, if you're having a problem. So that's just
Right.
developing.
That's great.
Yeah.
But it's high
We're-
time that we
Yeah.
had something more.
Yeah,
the
right,
outpatient
absolutely.
programs have been
Just here in
stressed.
Hartford, I know through the Challenges program, they're adding like 5 case management positions.
Wow.
So people
And
can get
you know, a
support.
police social worker we're getting.
Nice,
We're
nice.
getting because I think what you were hitting at, Patrick, is true. It used to be there were so many of these folks that had a need, but unless you could squeeze them into CRT, they weren't going to get those needs met.
Right.
And now
That's
options are opening up all over the place.
And it's so important.
We're bursting out of our building, so to speak, already.
We'll have to get a bigger one.
Okay.
And that I want to open it up for questions pretty soon, but I do want to make sure that we talk a bit more about peer services around the state, and how can we as peers and consumers help you make sure that we get this peer initiative off the ground here in the community mental health, or you know, because we're talking about, I think we're talking about right here is the peers through the community mental health or HRS or, you know, around here. How can we incorporate and be helpful in the peer movement?
Well, there might be 3 parts of the answer from my perspective, okay? The first thing is that what is developing for peer services varies around the state somewhat. We're putting some more money into the existing services, including Alyssum down in Rochester, and another way in Montpelier. But we're also trying to build some new services. So we actually put out a request for proposals around the state, and we got responses back from a variety of folks, including Vermont Psychiatric Survivors and some others, about how they want to expand and create some new services. So I think I would just encourage, well, let me say something else first, that the designated agencies have also been encouraged to involve peers, to work with peers, to hire peers. And most of them are doing something like that. I'll just give you a very quick example about in Burlington, they actually hired some peers to help participate in the crisis program. So that sometimes when persons call and they're having a problem, they're feeling in crisis, you don't have to send the screeners out there. You ask a peer to go sit with them, talk with them, support them, see what's going on. So that's going on, just one example. But that sort of thing is starting to happen in all the designated agencies. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, I think that peers need to do three things. One is they need to find out what's going on at their designated agency.
Exactly.
Number two, and get involved and ask how you can be helpful at the local level. Number two, they need to, if you're really interested in this, you need to reach out to the statewide organizations like Vermont Psychiatric Survivors and say, how can we help, or how can we be part of something bigger? And then thirdly, you really do need to be part of the political process. We had peers last year in the legislature testifying, and they did a great job, and they really brought those legislators from a place of not really understanding what peer services was about at all to being very supportive. So those are the three things I would say peers need to do: act locally, get involved with the statewide organizations, and also be ready to talk to your legislators, because this is going to grow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But Greg, when
Get involved in our CRT standing committees.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say, is that we're just starting with that too, but there's not too many consumers here, right here, or peers right here, that actually have moved forward with wanting to do the whole 9 yards. So I think it's starting small with a few people that are interested, but it's a start. You know, I mean, we've done the warm line training, we've done some other training, and I'm encouraged too by starting this way, that we're going to get more people that want to get involved and actually maybe start working, you know, and I'm looking forward to it myself.
Yeah, I agree, Linda. I think, you know, there's some logistical challenges here in Hartford, and I think the genesis of a lot of our peer stuff originated in Springfield, because that was historically sort of the center. It was a day treatment sort of center. So you had a congregate of folks. Whereas here in Hartford, everyone is spread out from Bridgewater to Windsor, and it's more of an outpatient clinic, so it's a little harder, but we have gradually done,
I mean, you've got some peer groups here in White River.
Like
I said, we did the warm line training. We went down and did the training with Alyssa. It's great. So I feel like
Brad
we're
out in our
starting.
audience
Brad
has been is one of the members of our CRT team here. Has been instrumental
in peer services. Yes,
peer
he's done a lot of work with us getting that going. But I'm excited too. I am.
It's a whole new frontier now, and it's just going to blossom. So really, get involved and don't be shy.
Absolutely.
And talking about that, I think maybe we want to open it up and have some questions.
Sure.
Okay. So here we are with the audience of Walking Through Life today, and they have some questions they would like to ask the commissioner or Greg, one or the other. So who would like to be the first one to volunteer to ask a question? Okay, hang on, I'll get over there. Oh, wait a minute, I should go this way. Don't want to go in front of the camera. Okay, I'll give you the microphone, and can you speak real close with your... Okay, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Greg. I'm a peer down in the Springfield area, and what my question basically is I'm a facilitator for NAMI, and I'm wondering what your thoughts are on NAMI, and what kind of support the state is going to be doing for the group?
Well, we support NAMI already in terms of we give them a grant every year, and we actually met with the new executive director not too long ago to talk about how that could be expanded, and I don't know how much we can expand it this year because our budget's already been passed, but certainly thinking ahead to next year, what can we do to help NAMI? Because it as a small organization always has some challenges. But in general, I think we've always supported NAMI long before I was commissioner, because we recognize that there need to be different kinds of support for people. And sometimes people want just peer support, and sometimes, you know, the NAMI is primarily a family and peer support organization, and they have their trainings and they have their support groups, and that's an important option for an awful lot of people. So we recognize that, and we support it 100%.
And is there a NAMI around here, around White River and all that?
I believe the closest one right now is in Springfield and stuff. Greg would know better.
There was a Woodstock one.
What's that?
There was a very small Woodstock.
Yeah, no, there is not one in Woodstock. We
I
moved to the Springfield area now.
That's what I thought.
Well, if I could add to that, though, that's one of the challenges that the new director is wrestling with, is how to expand the support groups. There seemed to be some reduction over time, and she wants to get that all going again, and we support that, and that may be one of the areas where we have to help with some financial support.
Right, and certainly we recommend NAMI to any family members as, you know, for extra support. And Greg, most of our staff have gone through the NAMI provider training at one point or another, so to get that perspective.
Did you get your question asked? Did you have another one?
I'm trying to phrase it. I think one of the things that I found that is difficult about it is through HCRS and everything, you have people that will know NAMI and everything like that, but we want to get out to the community more. Mm-hmm. There's people out there in the community who could use our services that don't know it. Mm-hmm. It seems to be very difficult to try to present ourselves out there, advertise or whatever the word is, to get it out there. And I wish there was something a little bit more in that fashion.
I think that's a great point. It's always hard for a small organization, and almost all of our organizations in Vermont are small, right, to spend the kind of time and money on outreach to a broad, you know, variety of people. You don't really know how to get them. You don't know where they are. You don't know how to reach them. So that's a challenge that's not easily solved. But
Greg, if I may, real quick, one of the good ways to get out information about organizations is to come and do a sit-down Walking Through Life show. So I want to invite you or anybody else from NAMI that would like to come and talk about your organization more detailed to be able to come down and do that. Cool. Okay? Anybody else have questions? I see 3 ladies here.
All right, I'm Tammy. I'm a little bit closer to you. Here, okay. And I've been signing up on the Hearing Voices Network, and there's not really anything in Vermont for that. I was wondering if there's any funding for that, or if anyone's looking into that. It's all over Europe. There's hardly any in the United States.
it is starting in Vermont. I mean, I heard about this from a couple of people, and I believe that Alyssum down in Rochester has some connection to the Hearing Voices Network, but it is just starting in Vermont, so there's no funding that I'm aware of, nor has anybody even asked for any funding yet, but I think people are really getting interested in it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I want to say, too, that I did take that training, and it was awesome, and it was very helpful to me, and you did the training with me. It was awesome, and as peers, I think it was very beneficial to a lot of us to be able to learn some of those techniques. And, you know, some of it we understood and some of it we didn't, but this is how we learned, by doing workshops and stuff like that is offered, and it was very nice that HRS offered that.
And you folks down Springfield way know Jennifer Marandino has been certainly involved in exploring that program too. So
I want to just comment on this whole issue just a little bit, because I think while we're making a lot of changes in the state of Vermont and there's new funding and all that, the change is actually much bigger than just no state hospital and now a different hospital. The change is much, much bigger. And so we have people in state government, people in the provider network, and peers talking about a lot of different things, including like the Hearing Voices Network, that you would not have heard about even 5 years ago. All of this is happening now, and it's a bit daunting to think about all the changes that people are open to and talking about now, and where are we going to go with that, and how are we going to get it organized. But it's happening. It's pretty amazing.
So, and if we want to find out more about what you're talking about, could you go to the Vermont Gov?
Yes, go
network
to the department's website.
Yes.
And it's pretty easy to navigate, and we put everything on there. So minutes from meetings. I do an update every Friday that goes on an email to half the Western world. And so we do our best to keep everybody informed, but it's all on the website. You can catch up on a lot of stuff there that we won't have time to go into today. And if you're missing something, you want something there, tell us, and we'll see what we can do about getting it on there.
And I want to get the audience thought about the peer programs that he was talking about, and what we're planning to do with that. Anybody would like to say something about that? About the peer initiative that he was talking about, as far as HRS goes, or CRT, whatever. Anybody?
No, everything sounds good. I mean, it sounds like there's something that's starting to move along here and everything. I've been in the system for 20 years, and I'm homeless right now. But I have a place I'm living in Woodstock at one of the houses there. It's been a long road for me, and I'm getting there, and it's good to see that after 20 years of hearing things, hearing something a little more positive than what it's been before.
Greg, could I, Linda, could I just add something to that? Because what Greg's bringing up, I don't want to change the subject, but since you brought up homelessness, I want to talk about that a little bit. One of the other parts of this initiative is the legislature gave us money for housing subsidies, so for people with mental health conditions, so that we can try to prevent homelessness among people with mental health conditions. And it was $500,000 from the legislature, and we're finding ways to actually expand that, so that we've got like 80 people already that have been homeless that we've been able to provide a subsidy to. This is pretty remarkable. And, so you might want to work with your agency here about how to access some of those dollars, because my goal is to eradicate homelessness amongst persons with mental health conditions. So we've got some money to work with, and just the conversation has changed about trying to keep people from being homeless. That's the good news. The bad news is we find, as we get into it, that there are more people that are homeless than we thought.
Absolutely.
But at least, you know, we're making progress. That's another example of a positive thing that's a problem for a lot of people.
So I had a question. Are you doing more like surveys to find out how many homeless people are within the mental health system, or?
Yes, and that's another whole show we'll have
That's
to do
another whole show.
sometime.
Yeah.
But just quick answer is, the ways we've been gathering information about homelessness in the past, I don't think are sufficient. And so we're just starting that conversation now about how to find out exactly who's homeless, where, and how we can solve this. So we're just, once again, I'm going to say this over and over again, a lot of this stuff is just starting, but it all will, you know, expand. But I've heard numbers that I find very hard to believe, like upwards of 800 people in the state of Vermont on any given day who are homeless and have a mental health condition. Well, that's a shocking number. But we need to nail it down if we're going to be able to talk to legislators about what we really need.
And one of the ways we can do that, don't you think, too, is to also continue to do things like this. Have a sit-down conversation with, you know, bring in some of the legislators in the different towns and have a discussion like this with the peers. And you guys have been great and so brave to be able to come down and come forward and ask the questions and be a part of this. And I really appreciate that. I want you all to know that. But we are getting towards the end of the show today, so I want to make sure that if anybody's got any last questions that they would like to throw at the commissioner real quick. Sure.
I was just wondering if there's any plans to open up more places like Alyssum around the state, because I've been to Alyssum and it's been very helpful for me.
I'll tell you, there are no plans to open another one right now. I was kind of surprised when we put the money out there and asked for proposals that we didn't get a proposal to do another Alyssum. But I think all of us have recognized what a valuable service that can be for so many different people. So there's no doubt in my mind that we will see more Alyssum type facilities over time. But that's a good point, to go back to Linda's comment a minute ago, is folks like you have to be saying to not just me, but your legislators, when you get a chance to talk to them, that place there helps people a lot, or that service helps people a lot. And coming from you, it means a lot more than coming from me, frankly.
Absolutely. So make sure you remember that this forum right here today is only the first one, and we'll have many more if you want to. We'll get people from the legislature, the Senate, or whatever, to come down and speak your voice, to be able to say what you want, what you need. You know, it's so important. It really is. And I've gone before the legislature and the Senate, and they're very open to hear what our concerns are and what our needs are. So I just want to put that out too. And I know we're getting the end of the show today. Again, I want to say thank you to the audience. I would like to say,
Could I add one thing? Not really a question. I just want to reinforce something Patrick said earlier is you guys stay involved locally, because I know for a fact HCRS is very active in pursuing these innovative programs and looking at anything that works. I know our CEO is tireless in trying to get funding for these things and, like I say, take chances, like with our Hilltop House and with the housing program Patrick mentioned. I happen to be the coordinator for that program at HCRS, so
it's nice we can ask questions, and that's what we should do, is we ask
questions, stay involved
open
with the agency,
communication, talking,
share ideas.
Telling your story. Absolutely.
Put your ideas out there, because you never know.
Yeah.
You know?
What's the worst? They can say no, but you never know. They might just say yes and even more.
Or
yeah. So again, we are about down to the last minute of walking through life. So I'm going to thank the audience, because it's just so nice to have an audience here, to have my fellow peers right here with me to not only support me, but to also be able to ask you questions, Commissioner. So thanks again for coming, and I hope you do come back.
I'd be happy to come back.
Fill us in more, and maybe we can even get Greg to come back.
Well, I'm just up the road. I think
we didn't pick on you too bad, did we?
No, I picked you.
Okay.
Oh, so we've done a few of these. So,
I know you have. You've been good.
You've been easy on me.
Yeah, I'm pretty easy, So you guys don't have to be scared if you come down. So anyway, this is Linda Carbonell, and I just want to get a message out to everybody out there that's Walking Through Life today, that this is an awesome time and an awesome chance for all of us, peers, anybody, to come forward, share your thoughts, share your stories. So if you're interested, give me a call or send me an email. My email is walklife@comcast.net. My phone number is 802-295-0997. Also, go to your local community mental health and say something, use your voice, talk to them, you can't hurt anything. So anyway, this is Linda Carbonell, and I am saying goodbye for Walking Through Life today, but again, I want to say keep tuning in. Bye. See you next time.
Some days I can move mountains, and other times I can't get it right. But every mountain that I'm climbing brings me one step closer. Raise my eyes to the morning, looking down a road that seems so rough. But if you ask me, I would tell you I still ain't had enough. Walking through this life of mine.